Clownfish, clownfish, bitchcock, clownfish, clownfish.
Well, hello, all you beautiful boys and girls, and all of those in between. My name is Melina Bitchcock, and I want to welcome you to another fantastic episode of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock, a fierce talk show where I get to interview some of the greatest queer performers from all over. I'm so excited because, bitches, guess what? We're going to camp. That's right. We have one of the stars of season 2 of Camp Wanakiki, the one and only, all the way from Portland, Oregon, Coco Jem Holiday.
Hi, how are you?
Oh my God, girl, I am titillated that you're here.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Because I watched last season. Mainly I didn't tell you, but I did. And so I was like kind of like waiting my turn kind of thing. I was like, I'm okay, let's see how this turns out. And then because you were so booked up, and I was like, no, I can't do it.
And if you knew how nervous I was to ask you, because I was like, okay, don't fangirl, just treat her like another queen.
Please, please.
Absolutely, bitch. Well, how have you been surviving this last year with, the pandemic and everything?
Booked, busy, and blessed.
Yes, queen. I love hearing
Actually,
that.
it's so weird. It's so weird. Just to go real deep, real hard, real fast, is
Yes,
I
do it.
because I got married in February of 2020.
Oh,
And then
congrats.
thank you. And then the world shut down like the next month, right? So
Mhm.
that was my journey. That was literally my journey. I got married and then the world shut down and I was already looking at a drag break. And so I was like, okay, world, I guess you've told me I need this drag break because you shut it down. And then I came back so revitalized to get back into the things I love to do, which is like producing shows and doing drag at a different level. And just like that's, yeah, I love it. Like that's so it was a hard year, obviously, but like I took it as an opportunity to get out there and just like do what I want to do.
I love that. I love the motivation behind that because, like, personally, I took this year to basically polish up my drag, and when we did come back, come out with a big bang. And so, I think that's what more queens need to do, and I love that. So, my love, are you ready to dive into the bulk of this interview?
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited. And I didn't
Me
prepare at
too.
all.
Well, don't worry, girl. We're gonna get you well drunk so you answer everything very.
Yeah.
So tell me actually, what was your first exposure to drag itself?
Oh goodness. So I there was a college drag show when I was in college. And I'm not ashamed to say it, I'm 35 years old. I just turned 35 actually. When we're filming this episode, it was like about a week and a half ago. So it
Oh,
was my birthday. So yeah, I my first exposure to drag was seeing a drag show on campus. I didn't know what it was. I just saw people dancing around to music I enjoyed. And so that was my tea. That was my introductory to drag. And I didn't actually fall in love with it. I just thought it was fun.
oh my God. But well, how can you not think the art of drag is fun? I mean, it's people dressed up silly, doing crazy
Mhm.
things on stage. I mean, hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at what point did you start doing drag yourself?
Oh, it was years later at that point, like years later. I'd already graduated college. I had met my first husband and they were interested in drag. So because I've been doing drag now for like 9 years, maybe. So yeah, like they started doing drag. It looked like a lot of fun. So then I started doing it myself. So that was my first time just dipping my toe in the water to see what it was like.
Okay, nothing like a kai to get you in doing the drag full time.
I know, isn't it exciting?
Oh, I like it. So what was it about drag that actually attracted you to that world?
Um, I always was a performer. Like, hands down, I was always a performer. I love to sing, I love to dance. I think I'm decent or okay at both. And so that was just my exposure to it. I wanted to have an outlet to be able to perform. And like I wasn't a famous singer at that point. So like drag was the next best option. And so I just dove in. And honestly, being doing drag later in life versus doing it when you're 16, I feel like that gave me a leg up on the competition because like I already knew who I was. I was a fully formed human. Like I had my degree and that just benefited me for what drag was in general. Just It did.
Because as far as I've heard, you're like a full-ounce businesswoman when it comes to drag.
Yeah, I actually thought about changing my drag name to Career Woman Kathy.
Oh, oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, right. I love it. I thought about that. A Career Woman Kathy or Career Woman Keisha. I thought because I do. I'm an entrepreneur and I use drag as one of my outlets. My minor was entrepreneurship. And so yeah, that's what drew me to it. I just love the fact that I could create a business off of something that just seemed fun and it was artistry.
I love that. And
Mhm.
how did you choose your name? I mean, we love the name Coco Jem Holiday, but what are the roots of it?
Uh, so my good friend called me Coco Goodness, like my straight guy friend. And so when I started doing drag, I was like, okay, let's do Coco because she didn't research. She was one of those girls who didn't go to the internet. And I'm gonna tell every person who hears this, like, you need to go to the internet and see who has your name, mama, because she would have not picked Coco. No, she would not have. And so Coco, that's where that came from. And then I went by Coco Galore when
Ooh,
I started because I wanted it to be regal. So I was Coco Galore for like 5 seconds. And then I went to Vegas and I saw a queen. I never got her name. And she performed to Jennifer Holiday. So I wanted to have something that was Coco Holiday, but that seemed a little silly. So I wanted to add in there the thing that I also love, which is Gem and the Holograms.
yes.
So I changed it to Coco Jem Holiday at that point.
Cheers. I love like all the references of pop culture that really inspired your name. That's great.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm one of those old girls that has the three names like Nicole Page Brooks. That's
Girl,
me. The three
you
names.
keep making me laugh over here because you keep calling yourself old, and I'm like 37, and like I'm like over here like trying to pretend, okay, okay.
You're like, sure.
I
That's
love it.
great.
So tell me a little bit more about your drag character. How would you only describe her maybe in 3 words only?
If I was to describe Coco Jem Holiday in 3 words, and I'm doing that thing you do at an interview where you are saying things before you answer the question, I would probably say professional, first and
Yes.
foremost. Professional. I would say comedic is a word I would use nowadays. I used to say sassy, but now I think comedic fits better. And then I would say, yes, professional, comedic, and I think quick-witted.
Oh, I love that. You have to be
Yes.
quick-witted in this industry for sure.
Yeah, you do.
And so, what about further with that character? Like, if I was to be sitting down with you at a show, what would our interactions be like? What would your personality be like?
So it's close to this, but usually it's like a little bit higher pitched. I'm like, "Hi babies, how are we? Are we having fun? Oh my gosh, are you drinking? I bet you love what are you drinking? Oh, I don't drink that because I'm not basic. Okay, cool. That's fun. Yay. But let's all get shots for the table, meaning you're paying for them. That's who she is.
Oh, I love that. Sounds a
Yeah,
little sassy, maybe a little shady.
yeah, just a little sassy, a little shady. Because also, like drag, like, because we're going to talk about business about 1,000 times. Drag is also, yeah, sure, it's my art, but it's also about making money for the bar. And how does the bar make money? Drinks and food. And so, if you're that drag queen who's walking around and not talking to anybody, then how's the bar going to make money off of that? Right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's who she is. The person who's always just like, let's have a party and get this bar more money so I make more money.
I love that so much.
Mhm.
Now, through the years and your exposure to pop culture, has there been any strong females that have helped influence your character you are today?
Yeah, Jennifer Hudson and Jennifer Holiday are my biggest like celebrity influences, mainly because of Dreamgirls, obviously. I'm a musical theater kid. I love musical theater, and like I just really appreciated that Jennifer Hudson, when she got the role of Effie in Dreamgirls the movie, like she was like down on her luck. I think she was about to lose her apartment. I'm not quite sure. But I remember she was just like, she was sitting outside of her church, she was praying. Like she just really wanted an opportunity and like she was down on her luck. And she got that huge thing because American Idol obviously panned out, but she didn't win.
Mhm.
And so she gets this role of a lifetime performing next to Anika Noni Rose and Beyonce. And so I loved the fact that somebody who Yeah, they worked really hard, but they just needed a shot to be famous, and that was her shot, and she got it. And then with Jennifer Holliday, I really appreciated the dynamic of how she was a big girl, who was able to perform, be able to perform and get notoriety from performing and be on TV and like perform on Broadway and off Broadway and like all these things. And like I loved that. I wanted because I knew like those hard luck stories just get at me and I love them.
Down to like your
Yes, and
style, my love.
Hmm.
Tell me what all goes into a signature Coco Jem Holiday look.
I like hats. I like
Ooh,
hats. But I
a
I
say
like
something hat day.
it's always a say something hat day. But my style is now because it's changing. I always I I like to think of me as like a Nickelodeon or Disney star, like in a music thing or whatever, like we're hip hop clothes in that capacity, or or I like to be in something regal, like an evening gown or something a little sassy. I like to show off my legs and have that moment. And so my style, I think somebody said it on Drag Race, and I can't remember who. Just I'm whatever I want to be that day. Like when I'm depressed, I'll wear all black and like paint a sad face or things like that. If I'm like feeling it, or I'm like really excited, or if like I feel in love, like I might wear like some elegant gown so I can just like wow the kids. Or if I'm feeling like I want to like rock out all night long, I might wear something like hip hoppy and like do something like that. So I like that she can be anything she wants to be, and I'm not stuck in a market.
All right. Now, out of all the looks that you have in your closet and you've done through the years, do you have maybe a favorite that stands out?
Yes. So my favorite outfit, which is funny because I actually stopped sewing after it, is I wore it on Camp Wanakiki for the episode I won. Um,
Yes.
yeah, it was that blue mermaid gown. I made that dress, and it was one of the last creations. I've sewn since then, but it was such a like a hefty project that it like took all of the creativity out of me, and I love that dress so much because it hugs my butt. Like I'm a big girl, and like clothes don't fit right. Like, and so making something for myself and it fit beautifully, and like I feel so gorgeous in that gown, and it just
Yeah.
kisses the ground. Because that's the other thing about evening gowns, you want them to kiss the ground, and that one does. So like when I walk, it moves beautifully.
Gotta love some elegance, girl.
Yes.
So, do you have a drag family that has helped you along the way or that you're part of that's helped influence you?
I'm an orphan Annie. Um, I did, and it all started from a very shady past. So little Coco Jem Holiday was just starting drag, and all of her friends got adopted in the same show, and she was not adopted. And so then I was like, okay, well, I have to probably do this on my own. And that's fine because I didn't start drag, like I said, at like 16. Like I started drag at like what, like 27 maybe? And like, um, and so I was like, okay, I'll just go it alone. And then a couple people tried to adopt me through the years, but no, I don't have a drag. I was never part of a drag family. I do have drag children now, but no, I never had a drag family before that.
I was gonna say, well, that is a family, you neglectful mother.
Yes, so my drag family, none of them, one of them has my last name and they kind of don't do drag anymore, but like, so I have four drag children altogether, and the two that live in Portland are Touche Douche and Brittany on. And
Oh,
they are
fabulous.
both I have like the Aryan Nation of drag children. I just really appreciate calling it that. I feel like I'm reclaiming my power by having all white drag children. As problematic as people think that is. And it's true. And the funny thing is I love all of my drag children so much. They're all so dynamic, they're interesting, they have their own personalities. And the one thing that's true about every single person that's a holiday is that we have the ability to persevere through the worst of times.
Yeah, I love that. Be a phoenix and rise from the ashes.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, how do you, speaking of like hard times, how do you feel like drag has actually affected or changed your life?
So I wouldn't have met my current husband without drag.
Oh no, tell me all about that, bitch.
Yes. So I hosted a drag queen karaoke in Colorado for over 4 years. And then from that point, I so I remember one day there was this really cute little Twinkie boy who walked in. He was sitting at a large table all by himself. And he literally by himself, and he was on his phone. So I went over and talked to him, and I was in full drag. And I was like, hey, like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, I'm waiting for my date. My date should be here soon. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'll hang out with you because you have this whole table to yourself. And so we just started talking. And like another friend of mine came down and started hitting him up because he was so cute. And then so I was like, okay, well, let's change numbers and let's like be friends and whatever. Cause I was married at the time. And so I was just like, whatever. And like, we became really good friends. We became best friends. We became soulmates after a time. And when my previous marriage ended, I remember I asked him to go out with me for Valentine's Day so I wouldn't be sad. And he said, yeah. And then during the date, not really a date, but kind of a date, he gave me a card that says, I think we'll always be friends. And then I told him we're dating now.
Oh my god, that's so romantical.
Yeah, it was great. So that's I love drag for all the other things it brought me, but that's the biggest thing I love that drag brought me.
Oh my god, so cute. Now, what can we expect from a Coco Jem Holiday performance then?
Oh my goodness. Mediocrity, I guess, would be the no, the biggest thing you can expect from a Coco Jem Holiday performance is I've been doing a lot more live singing recently. I've gotten more comfortable in my skin doing that. So you'll normally see that from me. And I'm also trying to get up my endurance by working out more. Because the one thing that sucks about live singing is when you do a fast number, like you get winded faster, right?
Right.
And so you're trying to dance and sing. And that is a really like when you go to a concert and you see Lady Gaga like twirling the house down boots and singing, like that's a lot of exercise. And so I've been trying to like work out more so I could sing and dance and do faster music. And then before now, I'm also merging into power ballads. Like I love a power ballad. I love making a room cry or think about things. And then last but not least, I still love making a dance mix. I love making a dance mix and then twirling when I'm just wanting to party with the girls.
Well, you mentioned that you sometimes do live singing. What kind of music do you like to sing live?
I like to do slower music, just in general, but like my claim to fame is I sing 3 songs, and I'm telling you from Dreamgirls, I can hear the bells, which is the love song from my husband to me. And
Oh,
yeah, and I am changing from Dreamgirls. So that's the kind of I like to do those kind of like romantic-y, powery songs, like even like I don't sing it, but like I know where I've been from like Hairspray, like those kind of songs about that message. I love that.
great. That's fabulous. Now, I know you have a very fierce and over the top personality, so I would hope that you host and MC shows.
I do often.
Fabulous. What's your personality like on the microphone?
Let me see. Let me do an example of them. Hi, everybody. How are we doing this evening? Oh my gosh. Yes, it is about me. This is so exciting that we get to be here to be exposed to Coco Jem Holiday. Please make sure you're drinking, so my voice gets a little less annoying for every single person out there. Also, like we have a fabulous show for you all this evening. Yes, I'll be performing first. Yes, you should tip me a lot of money. No, it won't be the best thing you've ever seen, but yes, it'll also be great. I love emceeing. It's my favorite thing about drag. It actually is right now. I think if I continue doing drag for the rest of my life, it'll be I want to be booked on cruise ships to like MC or booked at award ceremonies to MC or be booked to like MC a wedding. I love hosting. It is so fun. And I also practice stand-up comedy. So it's
Ooh.
an opportunity for me to get into that. So
So,
like yeah, go ahead.
well, I was going to say, speaking of comedy, then what's your sense of humor like?
Um I do a lot of I do a lot of situational humor, of course, but the one things that I like to laugh about are just making people think about something, like switching it up last second. And I'm also an activist, of course. So a lot of my humor is revolved around that. So like my shtick that I say, because comedians say the same jokes. I always tell people like the first joke that I usually say is like the weekend I moved to I'm from like a racist city, and so the joke always goes, so when I moved to Portland was actually the weekend of a Proud Boys rally, so thank you Portland for making it a soft landing, and if I ever get too homesick I just head on up to Vancouver so I can see those ever so popular Confederate flags. So that's how I
Wow.
start out my comedy. You going hard.
I mean, but sometimes you have to do that, especially for making political statements when you're living in such a problematic or crazy city.
Right.
And how else, like, are you very flirty with the audience?
I am. Well, actually, the funny thing is, like, I used to be more like, even when I was like, because I've been partnered forever. Like, I've always been like a little bit more flirtatious with like the youngins in the audience. But as I've aged, like, I'm recognizing like I don't. That's the easy humor, I guess,
Mhm.
for me now, like, versus before I used to, like, do whole spiels about some hot boy in the audience and stuff like that, and I'll be flirtatious when I'm walking around, like, if I, like, go up to a table, like, I'll flirt with the dude or whatever and, like, make him buy me a drink or having that good stuff, but it's more about now it's about more being, like, the responsible fun girl.
Well, and I'm guessing having a sense of humor for like hosting a show and then doing stand-ups different. What all goes into creating like a stand-up routine?
So yeah, that's actually been really interesting. I'll go to amateur nights and practice my comedy out of drag and like seeing how the audience receives it because in drag I already have the confidence. I talked to a lot of not a lot, but a few comedians in town who are booked everywhere and they said the one thing that I do have for somebody who's at my level of doing comedy, they said that I have a lot of stage presence. And
Mhm.
that specifically that comes from being comfortable on stage because of drag and like being able to command a room. And I say this a lot, like with stand-up comedians who are starting out. If you can't command the room, it makes the jokes flop even when they shouldn't. And so, like that's I feel like the drag is actually a crutch a little bit for the
Cool.
comedy. Yeah, because like it gives me like when I'm out of drag doing comedy, it's a lot harder. And I love that because it's a challenge. I'm something I'm working towards.
Well, I think the trick of being funny in drag is just being a complete idiot on stage. At least that's
See.
what I do. Now, besides being a funny queen, you're also a queen of the community, which means, you'd like to give back and do things here and there. In fact, you are currently and recently crowned the Miss Sweetheart of Portland. Is that correct?
Yes, I am Miss Sweetheart of Portland 33. And
Uh,
my husband is Mr. Sweetheart of Portland 33. We ran together actually, and he won as well.
oh my God, what is it like to reign with your partner?
It makes it to where now we can even hang out when we're raising money for the community. And that's just so great. And we just got off of our very first event that we threw, which was a Juneteenth Pride party at Local Lounge. And it was super successful. We raised I think it was 1,000 or $1,200, I can't remember,
Yeah.
for the Black Resilience Fund, which is like money that's reserved for Black people in need. And so, like, it was just a really great, beautiful event. And what it's been like has been amazing to be able to give back. It has been because this community has been really kind to me. And so being able to raise money for a community that I just moved to a couple years ago has been kind of earth shattering. It's been amazing.
Speaking of representing, what is your plan for the year as Miss Sweetheart?
Coming up soon, we are actually trying to do a COVID like a vaccination event. So even though Portland's doing a good job, we're also recognizing that the numbers for Black and Brown people getting vaccinated is really low. So we want to have a vaccination drive in Brown and Black neighborhoods to hopefully encourage people to get vaccinated. And so we're talking about possibly the Johnson and Johnson because it's one shot, right? People won't have to come back, or if they're too fearful, or if there's just not enough way for another way for them to come back to get the secondary shot and stuff like that. So we're talking about that. We're having those dialogues. And I would really, and even though that's not raising money for the community, because it is technically a fundraising title, it's also a community title. And I feel like it's really important to try to give back to our community, even if it's just getting them vaccinated, so people
Absolutely.
are around for longer. And so that is the next event we're thinking about throwing. And then my goal for Miss Sweetheart for my year, my platform is also intimate partner violence and domestic violence.
Okay.
And so I'm hoping to raise money for those, especially in the queer community, because domestic violence is always swept under the rug in queer relationships. Because they're like always the phrase you'll actually hear is like, "Oh, well, they're boys." Like
But
it's
no.
fine, right? And so that's why I really want to put emphasis there. And then also with women, it's just as bad. they're girls, like they get into fights sometime. If they're two girls in a relationship, of course there's gonna be fights, and stuff like that. And people downplay our struggles. So I want to put some money in that and put some focus on it.
Good for you. Now, what does having this title and doing this work for your community mean to you?
It means that it's my thank you letter to Portland. The best way to say it
Okay.
is it's my thank you letter to Portland, because I didn't realize how unhappy I was in Grand Junction, Colorado until I moved here. I've unpacked so much trauma literally just by proximity. Not even going to a therapist, literally just I'll be sitting in my bed. I'll wake up and then like a thing will pop into my mind about something that was incredibly traumatic. And it's always like an indication of how it's like now leaving my soul, how I've not leaving, but like processed through it. I can live through this. And some of them I didn't actually realize those traumatic experiences. And it just is happening organically the longer I'm away from Grand Junction and surrounding myself with positivity. So that's what it means for me. It's my thank you letter to Portland.
I think that's beautiful, babe. And
Mhm.
I've always said it's important to give back to your community, especially if they are the community that's helped it uplift you and create the name that you have now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So I figured because we're kind of at that halfway point, we would
Mhm.
play a little game. Yes, this is a bitch talk with Bitchcock staple that we like to call truth or drink. And how this will work is I'm going to ask you a series of shady questions, and you can either answer honestly or take a shot of that straight up vodka you got right up there.
Okay.
Are you ready for it? Mm.
Yes.
Yeah. So, for your first shady question, what's the craziest thing that you had to go through while being at Camp Wanakiki?
Oh gosh, I feel like the fans would want to know, so I think I might answer truthfully.
Spill the tea, girl.
Maybe. Well, I'm not necessarily under contract anymore. So the so th- Hamburger Mary, so that the owners of the franchise are the Sugar Baker twins,
Yeah.
and the craziest thing I think I went through when I was at camp is that the Sugar Baker twins, oh my gosh, I'm gonna expose their business. They like to argue because they're twins.
That sounds about right, though.
And it's not like fun arguing, it's real arguing. Like the stuff where it's just like, ooh. So the craziest thing we went through is that like the Sugar Baker twins were trying to, so I think I was supposed to go home towards the end. And so what was happening is they were kind of like talking about it, kind of arguing about it and whatever. Like they were like deliberating because that part is real and whatever. And so they had like it written out what they were gonna do. And then so Diana Fire starts singing a song, and then we all start singing a song. And this is
Oh,
when the camera is off at this point. And then they kick us all out of the room, come back in, and they're like, "Oh yay, like this is who's going on to the next round." And I was included in that. So that was the craziest thing I went through at camp.
oh my God, that is some tea right there, everyone.
Mhm.
Okay. So for number two, what is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to drag?
I ooh, this is so tasty.
Oh, she don't want to answer that one.
Mm. Oh, that is good. That's good. I am not answering that question honestly because I feel like people are just looking for a reason to cancel Miss Coco Jem Holiday, and so
Oh
she
my
gives a pet peeve. Like people are like, "Oh my God, she hates this." So I'll just take a quick little sippy sippy.
Fabulous, baby. Well, we got you all looped up then for question number three. What's the longest? Oh, well, this one's really shady and maybe stinky. What's the longest you've gone without washing your undergarments and tights? Oh,
Let's see. I think the longest I've gone. Well, and this is funny because like it plays in because I don't mind answering this honestly because I think most artists, it's funny, this almost could have been my second, but it's not my biggest pet peeve. It is I do believe people should wash their undergarments often because they don't. And so the longest I went back in my earlier days, I think was like 3 weeks. And I did have a few shows in between there, but now it's like every other time. Like I go home, I take it off, and I put it right in the washer.
So smart, girl. I mean, especially if I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty like sweaty when
Oh,
I'm
I
out there.
sweat.
Yeah,
Sweat. I pour sweat just all
and
out of my body.
I remember back in my early days when, I didn't know better that you should probably wash your tights regularly.
Mhm.
And one of the queens started sniffing around the dressing room, and she starts, "What smells like corn chips?" And she starts like, "Melina, that's your tights." And I'm like,
Oh my gosh, I would have cried.
okay, for number 4, tell us about your worst performance flop.
Oh my goodness, I remember it. Um, I remember it. It was actually I was performing in a girl group, and one of the people in the girl group couldn't come, so we got a secondary person to come in, and they were very new to drag at that point, and we had a whole routine choreographed out, and like we tried to like sell it and kill it, but the kids were at this college show and they just weren't feeling it. Oh, they weren't feeling it. It was so uncomfortable. Oh gosh, we just bombed so miserably. Like the choreo got all messy. Oh, it was awful. Oh, it was so my mom was there for that show and she was just like, I don't know what it was, but that was not good. And I was just like, oh God.
Well, fabulous. I mean, I love a good awkward moment, and that sounds like that was awkward.
It was because there was a lot of people to like not be impressed.
Wow. Been there. That sounds like half my shows. So for number 5 in your last question of truth or drink, oh, and this one's really shady. What's the shadiest thing you've ever done as Coco Jem Holiday? Ooh!
Ooh, oh goodness, oh goodness. Should I answer this? Maybe I should answer. I think I should. Hmm. I. Hmm.
I think you should answer.
Ah, gosh. I okay. So I know that this is gonna sound like kindness, and it's in a weird way.
Okay.
I truly I will not specifically oh gosh, this is so shady. I I don't specifically offer my opinion honestly when people ask for it, and I feel like that's pretty shady. Like I do, and I know people are like, well, that's just really simple. Because here's the thing. Let's say you are unless I can tell overtly that it's wrong. Like, let's say you're going up on stage and whatever, and your zipper is undone. I'll be like, "Hey, girl, your zipper's undone." But like most of the time, I kind of just keep my mouth shut because I don't, I don't want to mess up with someone's head, right? Like sometimes if you say it right before they go on, it ruins their vibe, right? Like, and so they can't perform well or they'll get in their head. And so I feel like the shadiest thing I've ever done to anyone, and I do it consistently, is kind of just keep my mouth shut. And then I lie often too. Like if somebody's like, "How does this look?" And I'm like, "It looks great." And sometimes it doesn't because I don't want to mess with you. And like, and but I also feel like it's shady because it's like you could help someone get better, like by just being honest. But like, I'm not that girl.
Well, remind me not to come to Coco and ask her how I look.
Everybody looks great.
Fabulous. Well, girl, you survived our game of truth or drink, and I absolutely love it. I hope you're all lubed up now.
Mhm.
Now, back to our main interview. Let's talk about maybe some of the hardships that you've had to face in drag.
Oh, sure. Okay. Let's do it.
What's some of the hardest things that you've maybe had to deal with when it comes to the subject of drag?
Cancel culture and drama.
You really
Honestly,
had to deal with cancel culture.
yeah. So, and the funny thing is, like, I people try to cancel me in Portland every once in a while, but like, the reason that
Stupid.
I know, and the reason that I'm a little bit immune to it, though, to a degree, is because I went through before cancel culture was really a word that we ever used, like, because it is kind of a recent term. Like
Yeah.
about 6 or 7 years ago, I was involved in a scandal at a bar where the bar owner thought that somebody brought like liquor into the basement of the bar and whatever. And so she like the bar owner like tore through all of the drag entertainers, and it was a big show, and it was a show I was producing.
Oh,
And
no.
so it immediately went public. And then to save themselves, everybody said it was my fault as the producer, regardless if I believe if that's true or not. So I'll never forget this. I had over 34 comments on a Facebook status of people just, or it might have been 64, like people just like bashing me and saying like, "Oh yeah, it's definitely her fault. She's the producer." And then of course people make it personal, and they were attacking me and things like that. And like even with Camp Wanakiki, I even said I'm okay being the girl that's not super loved because I have the ability to not be so bothered by cancel culture. Like I'm able to roll with the punches, and it affects my mental health, but like not at the level that it can for somebody who doesn't have my wherewithal, like has the shield, the wall built up to be able to get through it. So I think that that's like the biggest hardships I've gone through is when people are consistently trying to bring me down in some capacity. Because like I don't water it, is what I call it. Like I don't water people who do that to me. But what will happen is people get really upset when you don't react to their canceling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not quite a fan of cancel culture because it seems like, yes, cancel the right people. That's right. I won't argue with that. But like sometimes people will want to cancel anyone at the drop of a dime,
Right.
and I think that's something that we all try to face as entertainers. It's like, oh God, am I going to get canceled today? It's like,
Right.
and I think we just hopefully, people get a little more mindful and realize this is drag. It's not meant to be taken seriously, incidents like I kind of even think it's bad that you were bashed so hardly for alcohol being in a bar because I know a lot of queens that bring alcohol in the bars.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm,
and no, and I know a lot of girls have a bottle in their purse, and I know a bar can get shut down if they bring in outside liquor. I get it. It's a big deal.
yeah.
However, it happens often, and it was a huge thing, and like I got real people were reading me for filth left and right. Some comments were kind of
Oh,
racist, and it was just like, and you just get through it. And so I think that's my biggest hardship.
definitely sounds like you've overcome a lot. Let's talk about something a little more positive. Do you feel like drag has ever helped boost your confidence?
Yeah, like especially when it comes to my stand-up comedy, like I feel like it does it in that realm, but it boosted my so this is gosh, this sounds so sad. Being like a fat black person from Grand Junction, Colorado, who was going to entertain dating men for a while. I uh this is always sounds so funny, and it's true because I didn't know. I didn't know that Grinder made a noise.
Wait, what?
I didn't know that Grinder made a noise because I never got any messages. I know it always sounds so pathetic. It wasn't, I was hanging out with my little hot twink friend in Denver, Colorado, and there was a noise that went off, and I was like, "What's that?" And he's like, "I'm just getting a message." I was like, "A message?" He's like, "Yeah, on Grinder." And I was like, "I didn't know that it made a noise." And like there was this whole moment where they were like, "Oh my God, that's so sad." And then me realizing, like, wow, I am ugly. Like, and I had the whole moment. So in drag, though, what was interesting is like, because people want to sleep with a drag queen. And so I was getting hit on a lot, and I never really knew what that was or how to like process that. So that was kind of interesting. So it did boost my confidence to know that like I was getting hit on and people thought what I was producing was great. So it did boost my confidence for my self-worth in that capacity.
That's good. I mean, obviously, you're a beautiful queen. Look at you.
Thank you.
So, all of you beautiful people watching, the moment you have been waiting for, let's talk about it. Season 2 of Camp Wanakiki. Let's dive into it, bitch, because
Yes.
all the fans want to know, including me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So much tea.
So, let's talk a little bit about Camp Wanakiki. What was the planning process of going into the competition?
I think they gave us about, oh gosh, I think it might have been a month, maybe 3 weeks. I auditioned for it at the Austin International Drag Festival. Got a call like 6 months later, or even almost a year. I don't know. Like it was a long time later. They're like, "Hey, you've been selected to be on Camp Wanakiki season 2," and I was like, "Yay, that's exciting!" And I was there with my friend who is a seamstress as well, and so I was like, "Okay." I was like, "This is really bad timing because I was going to be moving to Portland in roughly about 3 months." Actually, from that, yeah, 3 months I think was roughly from that time. And so, yeah, I think I had roughly like a month, maybe 6 weeks or whatever to get everything together. So that, yeah, that was the planning process.
Oh my god, that had to be stressful, like putting together unique costumes to go on that show. And don't they actually like want most of the costumes made by you?
Yes, but like just like with Drag Race, honestly, like a lot of people don't have some of those skills, so like they have to like it's all of the concepts were my brainchild to a degree.
Okay.
Like I knew what I wanted and then I had to just like get it to be created. And I sewed so like obviously like the blue dress is something I sewed. The green dress I wore in the first episode is something I put together. Like I put all of that together for my Mother Nature look. And then the rest of them, like my little cooking outfit, I like somebody took what I made and completely remade it better, which obviously they did a great job with that. Um, and
Okay, inspiration.
yeah, and then I crafted like my space look.
Okay.
Like so I had those pieces and so I just put it all together.
So, I mean, the obvious question I think everyone would really want to know is like, what is it like to do drag and to compete in a drag competition in the middle of the woods?
Oh gosh, it's awful. It's horrible. Don't ever do it. Um
Mm.
no, it was a really amazing experience, but like so they called it our DDF. So this is the question everybody really wants to know. They say you have the same makeup every day. So I'm assuming that you filmed the earlier part of the days, like pretty much all in one day, and then you filmed like, and then the rest of the week or the weeks or whatever, you were just filming the nighttime challenges. And then you
Nope.
just did your talent show runways like day by day. I said, no, you woke up at the butt crack of dawn every single day to put on the exact same face for continuity's sake. They want it to seem like you are a character at camp, right? And
Right.
this is your that's what they call it. They call it the DDF, your daily drag face. So when we'd be on set filming, they'd be like, okay, well, we need a little bit more of this scene from earlier because it didn't turn out right. So I need everybody to get back in their DDF.
Oh my
And
god.
you could be in your full talent show look where you painted your whole body blue or something like that. And so you have to go back, get it all off, put on your DDF, and then to film like and I remember sometimes it'd be to film the easiest scene. Like I remember they wanted us to do a campfire scene. And then they were telling us, they're like, okay, this is supposed to be in between episode 4 and 5. So this is the person that just went home. This is what you're talking about a little bit. Just like, and then you don't know what the next challenge is. So just remember that that's where you're at. And we're like, okay, so like had to go back, scrub it. And we filmed, and that scene took like 13 minutes to film for like another like 45 minutes of getting back into makeup.
Yeah, but the filming process had to be interesting. What was it like to constantly have like cameras pointed at you while you're, basically acting a fool in the middle of the woods in drag?
uh, it it was so okay. So it was you become friends with the camera crew. Like I just saw recently on Drag Race that people like because of one of their main people that they're talking to when they're doing their confessionals that person recently passed away, right? And so
Right.
you get to know your camera crew pretty well because they're always with you, and you stop noticing the cameras pretty quickly because there's so much going on. And like my thing for me, I was just constantly in my head just be what they call the campy can do attitude, which in my mind I was making fun of a little bit. Like, so anytime I'm like happy or bouncing around, and like I would just make fun of like campy can do attitude, campy can do attitude.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
What was probably one of the hardest challenges that you've had to face in total while being at camp?
So for me, technically it's like because I don't know how to swim, and I'm not really ashamed of admitting that. I really want to learn, but I don't know how to swim, so anything in water is probably the hardest challenge for me. But it's funny, I ended up winning that day. But I think the hardest challenge specifically for me, let's see, I think I think it was the high ropes course. If you want to have some behind the scenes tea, is what I call it. We
Tell
were
us.
we were running out of daylight when we were filming the high ropes course. So I wa basically what the sugar bakers told me, and I decided to go last because I'm not afraid of heights. So I was very last, but we were running out of daylight. Not very last, I was like close to the end, and we were running out of daylight. And so before I went up, the sugar bakers were like, "Well," and the funny they were arguing about it in a funny way. Like one of them was like, "Okay, well, can you maybe not try to do the whole thing because we don't have enough uh sunlight to film it." And then the other one's like, "But try to finish it though." Like, at least give it your best effort. And the other one's like, yeah, but like, even if you fall, just like try to make it funny. And then the other one was like, but don't try to fall, like try to do it. Like, if you think you can do it. And like, I was like, oh, okay. So I went up there. And by the way, the high ropes course, they make it seem like it's one shot. What it is like because of where the pulleys were, it you went up one side, then you had to come back down and go up another side. So
Oh
you
no.
up, down to do the whole thing. Like it was a whole journey. And so I decided because I was like, I'm so tired of this and it was running out of daylight. I just decided to fall for my last because I was just like, okay, let's just get this done. And so that was probably the hardest one because it was like physically exerting. Like I had to physically exert a lot of my energy.
Oh my god, this is absolutely crazy, and I love it. I mean, that's kind of like one reason why I wouldn't mind going to Camp Wanakiki one day, and like because it seems like a fun place to just have fun and be silly,
It
and
is.
I love the energy that you all produce during the show. Now, speaking of like the show, let's talk about some of the main challenges. What all goes through your head leading up to the main challenge of the night?
Fear. Fear for me. So for me, I said if I made it past the first episode, I would shave off my eyebrows, or at least half off my eyebrows. So I did make it past the first episode, so then I shaved off my eyebrows. So that was a little kind of bit of a load off, so you don't have to like constantly cover your
I
brows.
don't even think I noticed that watching.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
gonna watch
because
the first episode and see if you have like fuzzy like.
yeah, well, maybe I don't know. They might be blocky. I'm not sure, but yeah. So I made it past the first episode. So then getting ready for the talent shows was always rough because unlike well, I kind of a little bit like Drag Race too, they do judge the whole day. Like the whole day. They don't really care if you won like the mini challenge or whatever, but like they do judge the whole day because they're trying to make good TV, right? So it was just really a lot of pressure because if you were like, crap, I didn't do super great today, so I need to kill it in this, but you brought what you brought, right? Like you brought what you brought. So you're just going to try to serve it as much as you can. And I did. I remember sometimes like with my spooky look, I was really excited about that. And that was the episode I was first at the bottom. And I remember a lot of my Camp Wanakiki siblings would always say they thought I was on the bottom. Like, even when episodes that I knew I did well, they're like, "I'm pretty sure it's you on the bottom." I was like, "What the heck?" And so that episode was one of the few episodes they didn't think I was in the bottom. And then I was on the bottom. I was like, "Gosh dang it."
So, what is it like to actually be part of the Camp Wanakiki family? Has it changed your life a lot?
Yes, it has. It gave me a bunch of siblings it gave me a family and a bunch of siblings that I can rely on for different things, who I just love and boost, and like any of those girls would have my back in a effing heartbeat. And Boris too. I always end up saying girls, but the reality is like any of those people, like, and they all did my online show that I was doing for a while here called Introvert during quarantine, and they all were on it at least at one point, except
Wow.
for one of them, I believe. And like, and it was just Claire. Claire was the one that was never on it. Claire, apparently, who lives in Portland. Uh, but no, it was an experience that I wish everyone to have. It's so great being part of that wider family and just doing all those stupid, crazy things out in the wilderness, hoping not to die. It was so good.
Oh my goodness. What was the living situation like out there? Did they like shove you all in tents and say, "Good luck, don't get eaten by bears"?
No, we had almost actually. So we had a cabin, And this is the funny thing is I'm a little antisocial, like a little, not a lot, just a little. So what happened was I got to camp and I think I was like maybe like there were 7 people there when I got there. So like 4 more people had to show up. Diana Fire, who lives in Portland, was the very last one to show up. And so what happened was and Boris hadn't showed up yet either. When I got to the cabin, it's just this really big room with just a bunch of beds. And I was like, and then they were like, there's this back room. And I was like, what is that? And then and they're like, well, we thought about Boris, you know, if Boris would like to change back, like if they want to be that room so they can be separate from all of you, like, then that's fine. So I was like, okay, I was like, well, I'll put my stuff there for now. Because there were 3 beds in the back room. Uh, and if Boris wants it, then I'll just move. So Boris got there and Boris was like, no, I want to be in the big room with every single person. And so when Diana showed up, because me and Diana were actually really good friends, Diana was like, oh, I'll just be in the back with Coco. So like we had a room to ourselves with a door that closed and closet space. So that was our living situation, like having like a little bit of the high life in the back room.
Ooh, Miss Thing, you got the VIP room.
Yes, mama.
It sounds like you made it to the top 4 of the competition. Is that correct?
I did. I did. I made it to the very final 4. And what was so interesting and beautiful is that Kitty Litter said to me, who also made it to top 4, she said, you know, I don't really care if I win. She's like, because when you think about it, Coco, she's like, we're in every episode of this season.
Oh, wow,
She's like,
yes.
so that means every week it's airing, we are going to be in it. That's our notoriety, that's our fame, that's our bookings, that's our everything. Like we're in every episode. And I remember because I drove to camp from Colorado, and good lord, that was a long trip. I think it was
Woo.
18 hours, 18, 20 hours, something like that. And I was driving back. My husband flew out to drive back with me, and I remember thinking to myself that it wasn't over because like there's no resolution, right? You'll know who the winner is. They film all of us winning,
Just
right?
like Drag Race, yeah.
Just like Drag Race, they film all of us winning. And this is some behind the scenes tea for you.
Ooh.
So they didn't get the angles right a lot of the time. We filmed the 4 of us winning like at least 4 or 5 times.
Oh, no.
So all of those reactions, all of them. Like the first one was pretty good, but like the second, third, and fourth and fifth one was just like trying to muster some acting skills I don't possess to be like Diana always did this thing like if she won where she looked at me, she hugged me, she went to the ground and cried a little bit and then like would hug the other girls. Mine was just like a thing where it's like, "Oh my god, clapping over my face, looking at Diana, looking around and being like looking at the camera and being like, "It's me." And then hugging Diana, then hugging the other girls. That was mine.
Well, what was all going through your head, while being that top 4, going home knowing that you have to wait, I don't know, a year to find out if you win or not?
Oh, I so I'll just say it this way, like we kind of knew Tora brought the best drag.
Okay.
She brought the best. So me and Diana, because you don't know it, you're not watching it being filmed, right? So me and Diana thought she was gonna win. And so when we started seeing it come out and Diana was getting so many good moments, I was like, oh, Diana might win this. And then I was getting a lot of positive feedback on the internet about being the funniest, right? And so I was like, oh wait, I could win this. And then people love the fact that Kitty was 9,000 years old and really good at drag. And so
She's so
people are like,
cute.
Kitty could win this. And so like at the finale, me and Diana were watching it at Stag PDX. And I was like, girl, this could be you. And they kept in there a spiel I gave. So at the very end, I gave a speech about like finally feeling accepted in my own skin. That I thought they were gonna cut out. And so Diana looked at me, she's like, you could win this. That was a really powerful moment for you. And so it was a really interesting thing because you did forget about some of the things that happened. And so you're like, wow. And so me and Diana were sitting there and we both lost together and it was beautiful. And it was a cool thing because I just kept telling myself, I was like, I was in every episode. Like I made it to the finale. Technically, there was no second, third, or fourth place, just second places. So I made second place in season 2 of Camp Wanakiki, and that's my claim to fame, and I love that.
I love that. And Kitty's right. It's like, you know, technically you're all winners at that point. When you've been in every single episode, you get full
Hmm.
exposure. So
Yeah, full
I think
exposure.
that's beautiful. What was your favorite part of being on season 2 of Camp Wanakiki?
My favorite part of being on season 2 of Camp Wanakiki is this is gonna sound so stupid. It actually made me and my husband closer. I'll give two. I'll
Oh,
give two. It made me and my
okay.
husband closer because we'd never been apart for that long. And so when I
Mhm.
got back, like we got to like talk about our relationship and how we move forward as a couple and like our move to Portland and things like that. And like it was beautiful having that 20-hour road trip in the car with my husband to just talk about everything. So that was beautiful. But my favorite thing about being on the show was that I learned that the skills that I possess are good enough. Are good enough. Like I was always that girl that was wondering if I could be a contender next to some really amazing and talented people. When I first showed up to camp, I was so because you see kind of what people brought, right? Because it's like in
Mhm.
bags or whatever. And I was intimidated that I wouldn't be good enough. And I was like, oh, everything I brought's just gonna make me go home. And I was like, this isn't good enough. These other costumes are so much better than mine. And I was like, and yeah, I'm not the best actor. I'm not the funniest girl. I'm not the campiest girl, like I'm not the best at anything per se. Like that's what you think to yourself, right? And then
Right.
that entire competition made me feel like I was good enough. And so when I moved to Portland, I had that confidence. And I kept that confidence because then I used the skills at Camp Wanakiki, my master's degree, like my insight, my wisdom to like thrive here and be great at what I do. So that's what my favorite part of Camp Wanakiki is that it told me that I'm good enough.
What was it like to hang out with camp counselor Ruthie and the Sugar Baker twins?
Horrible. They are miserable people. God. Oh, gosh, they just drive me crazy. They do. They all drive me crazy. And I thought that Ruthie didn't like me pretty much the whole time. Like
Oh
I
no.
wasn't sure if Counselor Ruthie even enjoyed my presence because she had so many cryy moments with everybody else, and I never felt like I was getting those moments with her. And I was complimenting her and trying to talk to her, and she did not give two F's about me. And and literally, and then the Sugar Breakers, I was fine with both of them, but I just can't tell them apart. I still can't. I still can't to this day. Like in
In
their
or
boy
out of
forms, both,
drag?
both. Because for me, like you know a person out of drag and you know who that transcends to in drag. But since I can't tell them apart outside of drag, like I can tell them apart obviously when they're in drag, but I don't know which personality translates to the boy I'm seeing out of drag. And so it was an interesting experience working with them. I think that they're both incredibly dumb. And I think that they're both incredibly kind. And I think that they both try really hard. I think that they're both really sweet. And I think that they're really stupid. Like they're they
Sweet
definitely
and stupid. I
they're
love it.
sweet and stupid. And I love them both so much. Sweet and stupid is the best way to say it.
And do you think it was kind of like, was it weird for you when the season finally released and you start watching it back and start watching yourself on this reality show? What was that like for you?
Unreal. It didn't feel real. It felt like I was watching someone else. And I
Okay.
was like, because the other thing too is you don't see your drag face in the mirror every single day. Like I bet it's different if you see yourself, like your out of drag self on TV, seeing your drag persona doing all of these things. It felt like a different person.
Okay.
And that was really weird. I wonder if the girls on Drag Race feel like that. Like, because a lot of them aren't performing like 8 nights a week, right? Well, before they get on the show. So I bet that's probably how they feel too. You're just seeing it happen in front of you, and you're like, oh, and then like I I I did judge it too, like judging like things I said and did. It's funny because the very first episode I had that semi-viral moment when I said, they're like, so what should we do? I was like, we should do anything that's other than this camera angle or whatever I said. Um, and I was getting messages upon messages from people being like, camera angle, like it's so, and they thought it was so funny. And so like I was like, this is crazy that people are reaching out to me to just because they thought that this thing I said was super funny.
I think one of my favorite parts was like the very beginning or the first episode. You're like, I'm just here for craft services. And I'm like, and as you're eating a bag of chips and like shoving chips in your face, I'm like, girl, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, well, because she was hungry and like, and I realized that they painted me as a fat girl because like there's a scene when I was just bored and I was spacing out, so I was like licking this apple. Like it was just a spaced out moment where you're just doing something stupid. Caught it on camera. Caught it on camera of me licking this stupid apple in a cafeteria scene. I was like, those assholes. Like, how dare they? But yeah, I didn't know, like, because like I said, I was practicing stand-up comedy, even was on the show. And they're like, okay, well, how do you want your intro to be? Like, how do you want to be funny? I was like, I don't know. I don't like you're nervous. It's the first day of
Right.
filming. You just got into drag, you just saw all these costumes. The cameraman's like, all right, action. And you're like, I don't know what to do here. And so I said, I need something to play with. They're like, okay, because I was like by that fountain thing. And I was like, would it be okay if I ate something? And they're like, oh, are you hungry? I was like, well, yes, because I'm fat. But
Yeah.
could I just eat something on camera? They're like, is that all you want to do? I was like, yeah, kind of. And so I did. I was just eating, and they're just like, and they were like dying laughing. They thought it was so funny. And I was like, okay, cool. This works.
So only one last question of the interview, and that is, what can we expect next for Coco Jem Holiday?
Yeah. So I have 1,000 things in the works, but just the funny thing is I do have 1,000 things in the works, but it always sounds like I'm about to be on TV. That's not the case. Um, I I have made a decision that if I don't make it to the next level of drag within 2 years, I'm going to quit. And I'm giving myself that timeline because as I am 35 years old now, I do want to have kids. I want to travel more with my husband. And because of drag, I can't do all of those things exactly the way I would like to do them. Like you could still do those things with drag, it's just a lot harder. Um,
When
but
you
I
say
just
the next level of drag, it's like, what do you mean by that? Because when you say that, it makes me think of like Pokemon, when you evolve to the next level.
well, because the thing coming up in October is like me and Diana Fire and a bunch of other Rue girls and Camp Wanakiki people are going on a cruise, performing on a cruise, which is one of the huge goals that a lot of drag artists have is, you know, to get that cruise show booking. And I have that coming up, and so that's going to hit me at that next plateau. I would like to be I would like to be famous in one of the three spheres. I would like to either have a famous, like I want to have an album, or I want to be a famous comedian, or I want to start doing those things. I do guest spots in TV shows, possibly, or make it on Drag Race. That would also be beautiful too. You know, I want to get to the next level, and I don't know how I'm going to get there, but I have a lot of things in the work to get me there. And so if it works out, because you know, fame is luck, fame is hard
Yeah.
work and luck. So if I'm lucky enough with the hard work that I'm putting into my drag, then that's what I'll do for the rest of my life. And then if not, then I'm going to quit and focus on the other area of my life because I am getting promoted up through the ranks in my boy job.
So far.
And so next year is going to change my life altogether for the career that I spent all of that schooling to get that master's degree for. And so
Yeah.
we'll see what, I mean, that's definitely probably coming next year. So it'll be a good balance to see who wins out, the boy form or the girl form, or will it still be a beautiful blend of both?
May the best contestant win.
Yes.
Well, I definitely can't wait to see what's next on your journey. You're a fabulous queen. I've enjoyed getting to know you, not just in this interview, but watching you on Camp
Sure.
Kiki and follow. I mean, don't mean to sound like a stalker, but to follow you on social media. We'll make sure to have all of Ms. Coco Jem Holiday's social media information
Mhm.
at the end of this interview, along with her tipping information. Even though
Yes.
Yes, even though this is not a traditional show, I want all of my beautiful fans watching to tip this beautiful creature for sharing all the tea. I mean, and she spilled production tea about a reality show, bitches. So give her money.
Yes, absolutely.
Coco, thank you again for being on Bitch Talk with Bitchcock.
Yes, thanks for having me. This has been amazing talking about myself.
I know, who doesn't love that? Well, all of you
Yes.
beautiful boys and girls and all those in between, again, I hope you've enjoyed this fantastic episode of Bitch Talk with Bitchcock. Stay tuned for our next guest that will be coming up next week. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay pretty, and we'll see you next time.
Clownfish, clownfish. Bitch cock, bitch cock. Clownfish, clownfish. Bitch cock, bitch cock. Come and get your dish, come and get your dish, come and get